The Mix 88.5 Property Update, brought to you by the award-winning Tudor Group, developers of Tudor Villas and in the final stages of Tudor Court Condominium, Pratham Nak Soi 2. The Tudor Group, Thai lifestyle, European standards.
Welcome to the Mix 88.5 Property Update, our weekly look at what's good and possibly what's not in Pattaya and the Eastern Seaboard. Our guest, as always, is Tim Gladwin.
The Mix 88.5 Property Update.
So it's a Wednesday afternoon, our property update as always on a Wednesday at Mix 88.5 with our guest in the studio, Tim Gladwin. You want to get a hold of Tim for any of the things that come up in the show. 038 252 588 is the telephone number for the office. Pattaya at Salmons Thailand is the email address, and salmonsthailand.com is the website. So good afternoon, Tim.
Good afternoon, Russell.
So how has it been? Another busy week, or is it a little bit quieter in town with all these people flitting back to their who knows what is going to be when they get back into Bangkok, their flooded houses?
Yeah, I think there's definitely been a change again over the last week or so, and that's been a lot of people apparently leaving town again, moving back to Bangkok, doing what they can to recover their homes that have been obviously subjected to some quite nasty flooding. And you know, I think it's probably fair to say that we're back to what you would consider normal levels for this time of year. Certainly the last couple of days I've had reason to drive into Pattaya, and the positive part of it is that it's a relatively straightforward drive. No big long traffic jams, no gridlocked streets, and yeah, all the better for it from a purely personal and selfish perspective.
Oh yes, I know exactly what you mean there. It's been much nicer to get in and out, or you've got to that point where you think, I actually can go in and out this time, instead of saying, well, wait a minute, there's too many people in town, I'm not actually going to go.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, there's been a period of probably around about 1 month where I have sought to avoid going into Pattaya at all costs. I took a few lads, my son's friends, to the cinema last Friday. I saw something for his birthday, not really a party, but just a recognition that he had just had his birthday, and I was terrified at the prospect of driving into town on a Friday night and going into the central mall. I thought, you know, the traffic jams to get in there and the traffic jams once you were in there would be awful, and I have to say I was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't that it was dead, far from it, but you know, it was reasonable, more than reasonable.
I don't think it will be this Friday though, because it is Movers and Shakers down at the Centara. So another gathering of all you lot from the construction industry and that type of the property front.
Yes, certainly that's where it has its roots. I'm not sure the Lighthouse Club in Pattaya is quite so focused on the construction industry as it is elsewhere. I mean, certainly.
Construction plus friends.
Yeah, and anyone else who wants to go, which is great. It's you know, it's just I guess an overall networking group of people these days, and you know, very popular one at that. Yeah. Certainly in my days as a construction lawyer in Hong Kong, it was out and out construction guys who would meet up on a Friday, and it was a little bit more basic, not quite so organised, not so many frilly bits on the side. You know, you met down at a pub and had a few beers, and the evening descended into a drunken romp at some stage, and there were a few golf days as well. But it was very very much geared towards the construction guys.
Actually, must have a go at Case this time, go for Town and Country. Case, if you're listening / watching, where is the golf day today? Where is the golf for this Movers and Shakers this year? We want it back. Complaints, write them to the Pattaya Mayor mob. Don't write them to us, because we don't know anything about complaints. So how is the weather? Now, you're back into high season, and you're back into my favourite time of year for weather.
Yeah, I love it. I have to say, for it to be absolutely perfect, as someone who wears a collared shirt and long trousers to work each day, ideally it would be a little bit cooler right now. But you really, you know, it's hard to complain. This is Pattaya at its best. It's clear blue skies every day, and just lovely weather. And I'm sure those people who come here for whether it's 6 months, 3 months, or whatever, they're glorying in this wonderful weather. And you know, it does reinforce just how nice a place Pattaya is, particularly during these months. And you know, it's somewhat of a shame, I suppose, that all those people that have been in town, many of them are now disappearing, with the weather being quite so good as it is.
But we've got more people coming in. Inquiries from Overbroad already. The people going to come over for holidays and long holidays that are now saying, "Yep, we're coming over. We've seen the website, and what you got?"
Yeah, absolutely. We have actually, and I'm sure plenty of other brokers throughout town have done the same. You know, there's no doubt that there was somewhat of a slowdown in tourist arrivals. I think that's been well recorded because of the flooding, although I'm not sure there was really ever any good reason for people to avoid coming to Pattaya. But nevertheless, as we know, people overseas see pictures from somewhere in Thailand, and the whole of Thailand gets
Tarred with the same brush.
Tarred with the same brush is the phrase I was looking for. But now, obviously, I think certainly I sent a message to someone in the UK even 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I mentioned the fact that a letter they'd sent might have been delayed by the floods. And they were a little bit shocked that the floods were still here, because of course once it's not newsworthy anymore in the West, it goes off the news and people assume it's finished and done.
Yeah.
And so I suspect that the general perception in the West has been that the flooding has sort of packed up and finished a little while ago, when in fact, as we know, it's lasted somewhat longer than that, in spite of the fact it's not quite so newsworthy anymore.
No, and I think the clear up is going to last a little bit longer too.
Oh, no doubt at all. But again, you know, down here in Pattaya, obviously, as we said a minute ago, the roads are back to normal. The numbers of people in town are again back to what you would consider to be pretty normal. And even those groceries the last of the groceries that it's been a little bit harder than normal to get seems to have just about righted itself now. Certainly
I still saw the rationing in Foodland yesterday, and water.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, 3 bottles of water and 6 cans of fizzy drinks, whatever it was. So it's still rationing in some places, still not back to 100%, but it's, you know, you're not really suffering.
No, and most of the places seem to have done away with the rationing. Certainly the 7-Eleven next door to the office, which has been my benchmark throughout, they've done away with the rationing, and you can't necessarily get all the different sized bottles of water, but there's no hardship getting the water of the water brand of your choice. And obviously that's a big improvement on where we were at a few weeks ago. So I think most of the effects have passed by, and certainly those people planning trips for the particularly busy time in December, January, and to a slightly lesser extent the other early months of next year, they're all coming. And like I say, we've been having a fair few email inquiries from people who are coming typically for extended periods. Again, what we talked about Pattaya in the past, it does tend to attract repeat tourists. People come back here very loyally, and they tend to come back probably in greater numbers for longer periods. In most tourist resorts, the average tourist might go there for probably between a week and 2 weeks. I think here in Pattaya, an awful lot of people coming here will come here for a month or longer, because it does have this loyalty and this repeat nature of business. And those people who are coming, you know, a significant proportion of them are apparently seriously looking for real estate again. So, you know, encouraging news.
Good stuff. Those places that we've been talking about over the last couple of months, the more resort style condominium type thing where people can stay for longer term, are they starting to take effect now? People can get into that sort of accommodation for a couple of months, 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, really, the first of those big style developments in this current crop of them was probably Park Lane, the Matrix development. And obviously that's been finished for a little while and occupied for some time, and I think it's, you know, quite well occupied, with offering as it does 1-bedroom units at a very affordable rate with a nice big swimming pool. Obviously the later developments that have been announced, launched, and are now selling, they tend to have been increasingly maybe spectacular, or greater attention given to the communal areas, making them more attractive, making them more attractions, whether it's a wave pool in the Laguna Beach Resort, or the islands and the little man-made coves with sandy beaches on the lagoon style swimming pools, the waterfalls, whatever. Obviously they're getting nicer and nicer, and obviously we've discussed that Raymond Land's new development. It appears that which I understand is going to be called Unix on the site in just side of Pratumnak Hill, Pattaya side of Pratumnak Hill. They're certainly, in their early advertising, they're mentioning that it's going to have 4 rai of gardened areas with
Nice.
whatever kind of attractions. I'm not entirely clear, but you're talking. I think the site overall is about 7 rides. So again, they're focusing very much on the outdoor, the communal areas, and producing a resort-style development.
So that sort of idea is stuck then. It seems to be that the thing to be done now. Is there going to be something another 10 years, next decade, or we've changed and we're going to go into a different style now?
Yeah, and as we've said before, I think it suits Pattaya very well, particularly bearing in mind that a lot of the people coming here are coming, as we said a minute ago, for slightly longer than you would probably have as an average visitor to a normal holiday resort. These people stay in between 1 and 3 months. It makes a lot more sense for them to rent a condo than to stay in a hotel, because obviously when you're paying a daily rate in a hotel it tends to be more expensive.
Yeah.
Also, you're somewhat forced to go out for food every time you want to eat, because a normal hotel room won't of course have any kind of kitchen or anything more than a small drinks fridge. When you're staying in one of these places, it's more like having a self-catering type of accommodation, where you can, as and when you choose, eat in. You can store more things within the room, so it does suit Pattaya very, very well. And you know, I think it's fair to say that Raymond Land have seen the way the market's gone, and unlike their initial development on that site, the South Shore, the Loft South Shore, they've very much focused on what the Pattaya market has demanded over the last few years. I think the unit sizes in Unix are going to be from 22 square meters up to 62 square meters.
Okay.
Combination of studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. Like I say, I think the overall 7-rise site, 4 right of garden areas. So, you know, a really very attractive product by a developer that everybody knows and trusts and understands that they produce a very high quality of product. So, you know,
I mean, we've got North Shore and North Point from Raymond Land that have been fairly sort of high end, fairly expensive. So is the Unix going to be the other side of the coin now, getting a little bit more budget area?
yeah, I mean, certainly the prices. When I discussed this with Raymond Land previously, when they were talking about doing a cheaper type of product, what they said was, look, we're not really reducing the quality, but you know, the site isn't beachfront in Wongamat, which is, as we know, some of the most expensive land in Pattaya. It's the site is still in a prime location, but certainly less expensive than those prime sites. And when you're talking about a beachfront condo, you're talking about absolute maximum prices per square meter. The prices per square meter in Unix are ranging, I think it's from 40,000 baht per square meter up to 85,000 baht per square meter. Bearing in mind where the project is, a lot of the units are obviously going to have very, very nice sea views, because the ocean, Bali High Pier, is very, very close to the site. So there's going to be a lot of units with great views out over Pattaya Bay.
I actually think looking the other way is quite good as well.
It
Looking out
is.
across the whole city and off towards the east.
It's a very nice view actually, and I've often thought that, because I wouldn't call them mountains, but you do have hills. Can't remember what they're called now, but just obviously on the outskirts of Pattaya, you have the range of hills. Going off down towards the south, you have obviously Buddha Mountain and a few hills there around the Silver Lake winery area, and it is actually a very nice view out there. But for those people who want a sea view, obviously there's going to be lots and lots of units with a very, very attractive view from probably a variety of different angles out over Pattaya Bay. Some of them looking out over Pratam Nak directly to Koh Larn, and some of them probably looking out towards Jomtien and the Jomtien Bay. So it's a good location from that respect. Obviously, depending which way you're angled, you have to be a certain height to get over Pratam Nak Hill. But even then, without a view, you're talking about a prime location.
I actually think that location is better than Wongamat, because for me, Wongamat is always, okay, yes, it's nice beachfront, it's the right sort of place to be in town, but it's always a bit of an awkward place to get to and come out of. Whereas the situation where Unix will be, you've got Jomtien just a little bit away, you've got the middle of town just a little, almost walking distance, a little bit away, and if you want to get out of town, you can get onto the main road and straight out of there quite quickly onto Sukhumvit.
No doubt at all. We've talked about that location before, and the way you can come back down in towards Jomtien and then up Tepasit Road to get to whether it's Tesco's or Sukhumvit Road and away to wherever you're going very, very easily. So it is, you know, the location has an awful lot going for it. When you think about Pattaya, that side of Pratumnak Hill, from that location, if you step out, it's probably no more than 5-minute walk to the Bali High end of Walking Street.
Yeah.
Now, there aren't many condominiums in Pattaya that are more conveniently located for Walking Street. So when you're looking at a development that will suit people who are looking for short-term rentals, particularly bearing in mind that it is going to be this resort-style development, one would anticipate that it's going to do very, very well. Bearing in mind, again, that Raymond Land have a track record for producing very good quality developments, very good quality units. The artist perspectives that I've seen look very, very nice. We're not talking about a cheap product here. We're talking about a very, very nice, high quality product. But obviously, you're not in that A+ grade beachfront location as you are in Wongamat, and thus the per square metre prices can be a bit lower. But I don't think you're sacrificing anything significant in terms of quality of unit, and that's certainly what I was told by Raymond Land when they were talking about that site previously.
Okay, that's nice, and we think we're going to get Raymond Land in at some stage to tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, they did say they would like to come.
They've threatened it several times.
Yes, and it's just a case, I think, of PRS being down here and unable to pop in on a Wednesday.
All right, we'll do that. Now, you've invested over the last, I'll put you on the spot a little bit, you've invested over the last few months in some of those nice resorts, Amazon and other. Is Unix one of those you would think, well, that's got to be a great place to invest in?
Yes, indeed. I must say, I've already scheduled a meeting to go in and have a chat about my own potential investment. So, you know, I was actually someone who initially bought in the Loft South Shore.
Okay.
And obviously that didn't work out, but Raymond Land being Raymond Land, obviously it didn't go ahead, people got the money back. But the site remains very good. The concept, I think, and the pricing and the size of units is far more sensible and far more focused on what Pattaya demands, and therefore something that I think will do very well. You also have to take into account how well Raymond Land have done with the Zaya project in Bangkok, with Bangkok investors. I think the back tower, which Zaya, which is all Thai quota, with the front tower being all foreign quota, I think it's virtually sold out, and they've just done exceptionally well. So there's obviously an appetite for Pattaya developments from Raymond Land in Bangkok, amongst Bangkok Thais, and I think that interest will be similar with this new development. It's an attractive product. You can see, well, I think I can see where there will be a significant income stream. You know, whether you're talking buying a unit for investment to flip it, or whether you're talking about buying a unit and then renting it out long term, or whether you're buying a unit with a view to doing short-term holiday rentals in there. Yeah. I think that the location and the concept and the size of the units are suited to all those different types of benefits, and so it strikes me as being a very good place and a very attractive investment for anyone who's looking to get into the market here.
Okay, that's all good. Now, you get inquiries from overseas, and I'm sure you're not the only one that gets inquiries from overseas. What would you say people look at when they sort of click on a website or click on Pattaya and find out, oh, actually I could fancy living there? What's the sort of property arrangement like? What do you think people would look at first?
Yeah, well, I think historically Pattaya had a certain reputation and it attracted a certain type of person. But clearly there's been very significant changes over the last 5 or 10 years in the nature of Pattaya and what it can offer. And I think you see that in the way that it's attracted a lot more Bangkok Thais over the last few years, because they recognise that the infrastructure here has changed, that what Pattaya is and what Pattaya offers is fundamentally different to what it was. Now, you know, I was playing last Sunday. I took part in a 7-a-side football tournament, and I can still feel the aches and pains from it.
Which is why I didn't play.
And I play for the Pattaya Panthers, which, as most people will know, is actually the rugby team here. But Paul Crouch, who was organising a football tournament, insisted on putting in a Pattaya Panthers team, and we went along and we did our best and we had a good time. And it served as a reminder, as it always does, that there isn't just one side to Pattaya. There's a very, very nice family-oriented expat community that lives typically in and around East Pattaya, and it's nothing like the Walking Street, bar nightlife type of patio that so many people associate with the town.
Yeah.
And it's always nice to see that, and I think it reminds you that there are an awful lot of expat families now coming and living here. Some of them obviously are coming here to work in one or more of the many multinational corporations with factories and businesses in the Eastern Seaboard industrial estates, and we've gone through many times. There are now 38 of them, and many of them are huge, and these huge businesses that are now coming over here to build factories and have operations here. But equally, there are others that are coming here, and they're coming here because, well, frankly, it's a place that offers them more as a foreigner than virtually anywhere else I can think of certainly in East Asia, other than the capital cities. Obviously, in the capital cities, you get the international schools, you get the international standard hospitals, you get the ability to buy different types of food that might cater to your palate. But outside of the capital cities, not so much. Whether it's in Vietnam or Cambodia or wherever you might go, once you're outside of the capital cities, you tend to need to be a little bit more of a pioneer. You have to eat the local food, you have to speak the local language. Here in Pattaya, that's not the case. It's not a capital city, so you benefit in terms of the cost of living, in the fact that the streets normally are not gridlocked and crazily busy with traffic. But you do still have the international schools at a very good standard and a choice of them. You have the hospitals, the international standard hospitals, and again, a choice of them. You have the shops, the restaurants that are geared towards the foreigners. You have clubs, organisations, whether you're from Norway, Denmark, England, Australia, there's people from your country. You've got golf buddies, drinking mates. It's a very, very easy option for people to come here and have a simple life without having to be that kind of pioneer. And so when you consider the standard of living that is on offer here, whether it's with the social side, the family side of things, as with the Panthers and various other clubs, whether it's the cricket club or whatever, it's becoming an increasingly attractive place for families from overseas. And it's nothing to do with the sort of old and now outdated reputation of Pattaya.
Yes, it did have a very bad reputation. Obviously, Central are doing fairly well because now they've opened up a power by Foodland on Pattaya Klang, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a new Tukkom that's going to be opening up as well, so that's going to be getting bigger and bigger, more development there. So it's
King Power as well, of course.
It's all going forward. It's our weekly look at the property market here in the Eastern Seaboard. On the way, the exchange rates and our property of the week. Stay tuned.
The Mix 88.5 Property Update, brought to you by the award-winning Tudor Group, developers of Tudor Villas and in the final stages of Tudor Court Condominium, Pratam Nak Soi 2. The Tudor Group, Thai lifestyle, European standards. The Mix 88.5 Property Update, brought to you by the award-winning Tudor Group, developers of Tudor Villas and in the final stages of Tudor Court Condominium, Pratam Nak Soi 2. The Tudor Group, Thai lifestyle, European standards.
It's the Mix 88.5 Property Update, a Wednesday afternoon or a Friday if you're watching it on PMTV. It's all brought to you by Tudor Group, developers of the Tudor Villas and in the last stages of Tudor Court on Pratam Nak Soi 2. If you want to know more about that, Simon says drop down and see them at the showrooms, drop down and see what they're doing, because all the extra bits, the wall interiors, the double glazing, all the extra bits and pieces, the damp proofing, all that is now starting to be covered up as they get into the decoration stages. So if you do want to go and see the quality of the build, you've got to get down there fairly quickly now. It's a nice little place. I think it's have a quick look into the finance of things going. Seems we're sort of getting into the high season and into full swing. Is business still going well?
Yeah, I mean it's. Right now we're in a bit of a hiatus, I think. I've often said in recent weeks, normally the start of the high season, it's a gradual process. It starts off things gradually getting busier from the start of November usually, and it builds up and it builds up, and obviously as the festive season approaches, it gets busier. And while there are an awful lot of people here over the festive period, business doesn't tend to be that busy because people are concentrating on celebrating,
having a good
and
time,
getting
as they
drunk
should
and
do.
eating
Yes.
too much. But nevertheless, those people in town tend to hang around a bit longer after the festive period, and that's when business-wise things tend to get significantly busier. Obviously, it's a question of waiting to see what will happen this year. But as I said earlier, we're getting a lot of inquiries from overseas, and so all the signs are very positive at the moment.
So what do people, if they're going to get an inquiry from overseas, they sort of send you an email, say, we want to go and see a particular property at a particular time. Is there anything that's set? They just say, well, I'm coming between these dates, and, you know, anytime you've got a free moment, I want to go out. Or it's, I can only go out on a Wednesday because every other day I'm doing something else.
No, it's a combination. I mean, most people either know us from previous years, and they write to say they're coming over on such and such a date and are interested in doing X, Y, and Z. Alternatively, obviously people may have been looking at properties on the website and so forth, seen something in particular that they like. Maybe they've got the e-newsletter that I send out, and they've seen something in there, and they have a particular query saying they've seen this property and that they would like to see it. These are the dates, this is where they're staying, this is the time mobile number, and obviously you take things from there. So it's really a combination.
Okay. Is there? Do you also get the sort of an overseas investor that comes back every now and again and says, "Look, I'm coming into town again. It's been 6 months since I've been there. What's on offer for me to invest in?" Rather than saying, "I want to buy my own property."
Yeah, to a limited extent. Those people who are common investors here, I think they keep a pretty close eye on the market,
Right.
even while they're not here, and obviously through the internet and communication generally in this day and age, it's very easy to do so. Gone are the days where you would be over in the UK and it would take a crackly, barely audible telephone call with a massive delay. You know,
Yeah.
These days the world is, in many respects, is a very small place, and you know, with a laptop on your lap, you can pretty much find out most of what you would want to know.
Okay. It is talk about these investments. Is Unix now officially launched, or is it still it's coming out, but we haven't officially launched it and put it out to the public yet?
Yeah, I think the launch date, they're having a launch event in the Hilton Hotel on is it the weekend of the 10th and the 11th of December? So where are we? A couple of weeks or so away, just a week and a half. And I think you have to register if you want to go there. But obviously, if you do register, I think you then get an invite and you can go along and hopefully have first choice of the units.
Can I go along? I've got no money. Can I go along as well?
I'm
You know,
sure you
just
can.
'cause I'm just going to have a look and see what it's like. Speaking of money then, let's have a look at the currency exchange this rate. There's not much change as we look at the pound at 48.8 last week, 48.7 this week, and not much change there. I actually thought all the stock markets got really strong over the last couple of days, so I thought there might have been some changes, but obviously not. The US dollar, again, there wasn't much change there. Now it looks like there is much change when I look at it again. The Aussie dollar was the one I thought was going up and down like a tart straws. Again, 31.4 last week and back to 30.6 this week. And I think that was the other way around the week before, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been extraordinary, the Aussie dollar. I mean, the US dollar, I didn't realise, just looking at the note now, that last week it was 32.26, which
Yeah.
is an awful lot stronger than it's been for some time. I mean, it's been 29, 30 for a long time. I didn't realise it had got up to 32.
Maybe that was the 31, and then it's still 31. I didn't think there was much change when I looked at it. I think that's a query on that one. 31.2 last week and 31.2 this week, but the bits behind it were different, I believe.
Right, okay.
Checking on that one. And the euro, not much change there really. It's gone down a little bit, 41.6 as to be 42.1 from last week. As I say, I thought the currencies would have started to get a little bit stronger because of the resurgence in the stock market over the weekend.
Yeah, I think there's still an awful lot of caution around, and certainly, you know, if I was a foreign exchange trader, I would be very hesitant about putting any great money in the euro even now.
Oh yeah,
and obviously by association, given that the UK is in the European Union, if not in the European single currency, you know, if the euro goes, the pound's going to be hit significantly as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure caution is the watchword for an awful lot of traders.
Okay, so the baht is still fairly stable at the moment. Now, if you're investing your 1 million this week, sticking $1 million baht into a condo at Tudor Court, it's going to cost you $32,030 US. It'll cost you 20,500 quid, or 24,000, albeit euro, 24,001 euro. I think probably they'll let you off the
Yeah,
one,
you might be able to negotiate that.
Do people still negotiate?
Absolutely.
Even on the new ones?
Yeah, no doubt,
Okay.
no doubt. I mean, some developers are willing to negotiate, others aren't. But as I always say to people, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, you can always get no. It's like,
Yeah, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think it's always sensible to ask. Like I said, some developers, their price lists are set and they won't negotiate, but others absolutely will.
okay, there's a thought to bear in mind if you're doing that sort of stuff. Property of the week this week then, it's another nice one you found.
Yeah, a new listing this week in a very nice gated community in East Pattaya. It's a particularly nice house. I must confess I've not been there, but a lot of photos, and the photos look really very, very nice indeed. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath house with also a separate guest toilet. I think some people, you might sometimes call that 2.5 bathrooms, although what half a bathroom is, I've never been entirely sure.
I think you pee on the floor.
Yeah, I guess that's right. And including the price, there's a full furniture package. Again, as I said, it looks very, very nice indeed. You know, you're talking flat screen TVs and really very nice, coordinated, attractive furniture. So, I think for anyone, when you're buying a property, aesthetics are very important. What you're looking at here is a property that's really very nice. The house itself has a little over 200 square meters of living space, so you know,
quite
nice and spacious property. It's on a walled and gated plot in, like I say, a gated community. Right now, until the end of the year, until the end of 2011, the price has been reduced to only 4.5 million, including the furniture package and everything. So it strikes me as a pretty good deal.
If I want to get it January 1st, is it going to cost me more?
Matter for negotiation.
Okay, there we love that word, negotiation again. Now, do photograph? You just said some nice photographs because you haven't actually seen it. Do photographs matter? If you're going in down to take a property and say, well, this is my house, I want to sell it. I've taken these photographs. Good idea, or let someone else go and take the photographs at the right angle? It
depends what your photographic skills are like. We get some photos from clients which are unbelievable and far better than anything we could ever do, realistically. I mean, they're like professional photographer photos. Others, you know, people seem to sort of take photos of beds and bedside cabinets and various individual pieces of furniture, and you have no idea what the house looks like. So, you know, the range is really very, very big. And obviously, in the latter case, it's normally the case that we will have to then arrange to go over and take some photos of our own anyway. But obviously, if the photos are good, you can get a very good idea of what the property is without actually visiting it yourself.
Is it a little bit like Photoshop, though? You can get some really great photographs and then go, whoa, wait a minute, that's not what I looked at in the photograph when I get to the place.
Normally, if that's the case, you've only ever been given a few photographs, because a few photographs can make a place look very nice. If you get enough photographs to get a proper feel of the place, then it's hard to disguise it as something it isn't. Obviously, with 2 or 3 photographs that might show good angles, you can make something that is perhaps not so nice look far nicer than actually it is.
Silk purse comes to mind.
Indeed.
The pig's ear stuff. It's the property update on a Wednesday at Mix 88.5. It's brought to you by the Tudor Group, developers of Tudor Villas, and they're currently in the last stage of the Tudor Court on Pratam Nak Soi 2. If you want to go down and see it, check out with Simon and see what they're currently doing as they get towards the end of that development before they get into stage 2. I think they're going to for another one after that, aren't they?
Is that right? I'm not sure.
So.
I'm not sure, I must confess.
I think the roof is on and the decoration goes up, the scaffolding's coming down, they're painting and decorating, making it look nice, the tiles are going in, and then it's a case of the next development for Simon and the rest of his gang. Also having a look at that one, it is European style electrics and plumbing throughout, so I think it's made the right way. I do like to have a building with an earth.
Yeah, absolutely. That can be a big problem here, particularly with the heavy rain that we always get. Obviously, water and electricity don't tend to mix very well at all. And you know, if you haven't got the electricity earth, you know, someone can have a very, very nasty accident if something goes wrong.
It's always nasty. As always, thanks for coming in, Tim. If you want to get hold of Tim, he's at solmansthailand.com. It's the web address, solmansthailand.com. Patia at solmansthailand.com for the email address. And if you want to contact him at the office, 038 252 588. And we'll be back same time, same place next week for another session of the property update here at Mix 88.5 and at Patia Mail TVs on a Friday. We'll be back same time, same place next week, Tim and myself, for another edition of the property update. We'll see you then.
The Mix 88.5 Property Update, brought to you by the award-winning Tudor Group, developers of Tudor villas and in the final stages of Tudor Court Condominium, Pratam Nak Soi 2. The Tudor Group, Thai lifestyle, European standards.